Welcome back to the Sensible Mama podcast. I am Paulina Westcott, your host. Very excited to have you here today. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share it with a mama that you think would enjoy it. And without any further ado, welcome to this week's guest. She is Elizabeth Wein. She is a postpartum doula, and we are going to be talking about something about which I am completely clueless, which is very exciting because I'm going to learn something today, and hopefully you will too. Elizabeth, would you like to introduce yourself, say a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just dive right into it.
Hi, Paulina. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Elizabeth, and I am a postpartum doula. I am about halfway through my Ayurvedic certification, and I'm just starting out my business. So this is new for me, and also I have a lot of knowledge to share and a really big passion for this work. And yeah, I'm really excited to chat.
That's awesome. So for people who don't know, first of all, what is a postpartum doula? Because the term doula gets a lot of very funny looks from me, like, what's this? I've never heard of this. But postpartum doula is something that I didn't hear about until well after my second baby. So why don't we first start with introducing people to what is that? It's not just a babysitter, which is what I think some people think it is. So explain what a postpartum doula is.
Totally. I get such weird looks from people, especially with the Ayurvedic piece, which I'll explain more after. But yeah, so a postpartum doula is a hired caregiver that comes to your home and takes care of you after you give birth. Or also there's postpartum doulas that will do more overnight kind of work, like overnight infant care. That's not what I do, but that is a form of postpartum doula. My practice is more mother-centered, so the pillars of postpartum are rest, warmth, nourishment, touch, and community. So after you give birth, you need to incorporate all of those things. And so what a postpartum doula does is comes to your home and brings these aspects, and often comes for a few hours, maybe comes every day, and usually will cook, help with household tasks, hold the baby while you take a shower, take a bath. Partner education is a big piece of it, helping dads figure out how to take care of mom, infant care guidance, if it's your first and you really don't know like anything. A lot of people don't. I have a background in nannying and childcare as well, so sometimes I forget that people don't know how to swaddle a baby, or how often to feed them, etc. So education is a big part of hiring a doula. What else? Yeah, touch is a big piece. So for me, that would be Abhyanga, which is a warm sesame oil massage. And so having warm touch on the body could even be a foot massage, hand massage, wrapping the belly, massaging the belly. These are all really wonderful things that a postpartum doula will probably do for you.
That's amazing. The cool thing about doula work, any kind of doula work really, is it's so personalized, because no two moms are going to need the same thing, Postpartum looks as different mom to mom as a birth does, and I often say, no two births look the same. And so I imagine, you go and you find out what does that specific mom need in that specific time of her life. Because even baby to baby, the needs I know my postpartum between my first and my second kid were night and day different. They were not at all the same experience. So I love that it's tailored to the needs of the mom in that specific unit of time.
Yeah, it really is. That's why it's hard for me to kind of nail down my packages because it is so custom. It's like, well, what do you feel like you need? Like, do you need more cooking? Do you just need like more household help? Do you need more education? So yeah, it is so custom.
Yeah, it could just even be companionship, like you mentioned, community. Like, I know so many people who mention, I felt so alone postpartum. And, even if there's a parade of people going through your house, coming to meet the baby, the mom's needs are also very important. And I think it's very easy to forget that, especially as the mom. Like, it's so easy. You have all of your attention on this beautiful new baby. You kind of forget. You become the second or third or more priority in your own world, and it really helps to have somebody there who's going to help you adjust that, because so much depends on the stability and the well-being of the mom, not just taking care of the baby and making sure the baby's needs are met.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because I don't have my own children yet. And I see women that I know very well, and just our society as a whole, we are really missing this piece of holding the mother, mothering the mother, which is one of the Ayurvedic principles in postpartum, is mothering the mother. Because yeah, you're so focused on meeting this baby's needs. You need someone to be looking out for you. And like our society, we don't give that. Like, that's not part of the medical model of pregnancy and then postpartum. It's not part of it. Like, you go for your 6-week appointment and like that's it. We're not planning for the 4th trimester. We're like planning for baby showers, we're planning for births, and we're missing the postpartum period. And then a lot of people also don't know how to go be with a new mother, like, because it is so exciting. The new baby, it's so exciting. But you really need to come with like some reverence for what she has just walked through and how sensitive this time is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we dive any further, without defining the word, would you please, we started talking about this a little bit before we hit record, but I think it's a good idea for anybody who's unfamiliar with the concept like I am. Would you give the super basic definition? What is Ayurvedic medicine?
So Ayurveda is a medical science that comes out of the subcontinent of India. It's over 5,000 years old, and Ayurveda is translated to the science of life and longevity. Ayur means life, Veda means knowledge or science. So Ayurveda, the science of life. And it is a medical medicinal model that teaches you how to prevent and heal illnesses. And it is all about balance and harmony and balancing the different energies in the body. So those energies in Ayurveda are the doshas, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So these 3 doshas are made up of the elemental qualities that we have in this earthly plane. So water, earth, fire, air, ether. So Vata, for example, is air and ether. Kapha is water and earth. And Pitta is water and fire. And so these 3 doshas we're born with our own constitution. So I'm more Pitta, and someone else might be more Kapha. that's like the baseline. They just have more of this thing naturally because we're all so unique and we have our own personalities. And then with life, it becomes out of balance because anything can affect it. Emotions, food, weather, seasons. So like the springtime, as I was saying before we hit record, the springtime is very high in water and earth qualities, so it's a very kapha season. So that's why you start to see a lot of mucus, a lot of allergies, seasonal allergies, stuff like that. And after birth is a very high vata time. So if you think about the qualities of vata, it's ether and air. So you just gave birth, you have all of this empty space. So it is very vata. And when vata is aggravated, you can have symptoms like anxiety and depression, poor digestion, poor sleep, restlessness. So that's why those are some of the common things that we see happening postpartum for women, because the vata is aggravated. So the idea in how to bring these doshas back into balance is to bring the opposite thing. So if your vata is aggravated, you want to bring warmth, oily, soft qualities. So part of the principles of nourishment postpartum for Ayurveda is like really slow cooked foods, oily foods, stews, lots of porridges, like rice porridges, because after birth, your Agni, which is your digestive fire, and is very low. So you want to like stoke that fire and you want to bring it back up.
It's interesting because I have no idea about any of this, but the more you talk about it, the more it kind of resonates with my own personal experience, which of course is anecdotal, but that's what I have to pull from is my own experience. I know like when I had given birth to my oldest, I was craving like lasagnas and casseroles, like thick, heavy, like soup, like vegetable soup, like butternut squash, like thick, hearty food. And the cheeseburgers. I'm sure that's not necessarily part of the natural healing, but it was that quality of like oily, warm, hearty, thick, like heavy duty food. Not that I shouldn't have been eating some salads, but that just wasn't really what my body needed in that particular time of my life. Fruit is nice, but it wasn't hitting the spot. The real draw was like the foods with
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, salads is definitely a no-no in Ayurveda postpartum. It's like anything that's like cold and raw is definitely something you want to avoid because it's at least very early on, in those early days, which I would say like probably like those first 2 weeks. You want to really, really keep it so simple and like just like a lot of like just simple, really soupy oatmeals and like oily. Ghee is a very healing food. So like putting lots of ghee just in anything, putting lots of ghee in the oatmeal, putting ghee in the soup, lots of warm broths, that's what you want to go for. And the Ayurvedic sacred window is 42 days. So that is the window that I honor in my practice, is 42 days of rest and recovery.
Yeah, so 42 days. That's almost
It's a little more than 6 weeks.
A little, yes, which is kind of conforms with the Western medicine. Well, at least what the Western medicine model purports to recommend. But really, it's not like you were saying. We're not set up to heal the way that we really need to, and there's so much pressure. And I talked about this in an earlier episode, but the pressure to bounce back postpartum is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not to say that some people don't. I mean, again, pulling from my own experience, my first pregnancy, after I had him, it took me like 6 solid months to feel like a normal person. With my second kid, it took me approximately 2 weeks. So that goes to show you the range of variation that can happen even with one individual, but two different babies. You have to give yourself the grace and the time and the care and the priority that postpartum is not a normal part of life. It is a very unique and very important and potentially challenging time of life. I mean, goodness, you're welcoming a new baby. That by itself deserves so much respect and attention and, you know, all sorts of things. But then as far as taking care of yourself, I would say 6 weeks is, and it's not just 6 weeks and then after that you're expected to be fine. It's like, how about we take those 6 weeks and we really intentionally prioritize taking care of yourself for real, like nourish the body, nourish your mind, because hormones and also just the new adventure, and if you're not sleeping great and if you're stressing out about how often is my baby pooping and is he sleeping enough and so forth, like there's so much going on. Like, educate yourself. Don't allow things to come into your space that are going to stress you out. It's so easy to go on Google and be like, what's going on? Is this normal? Only to find Dr. Google's telling you some terrifying, well, your baby's boogers could be just boogers, or maybe they're dying of some rare, impossible disease, Not like I did that or anything within the first week of my baby's life. Anyway, so, but yeah, I mean, and it's funny, you had mentioned that Western medicine pulls a lot from Ayurvedic medicine. And as we're talking, I'm noticing some similarities where, we say 6 weeks in Western medicine. I feel like that's not just an arbitrary number that somebody pulled out of thin air. It probably comes from somewhere, and I wonder if that's where.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I know that like the different branches of medicine, like pediatric oncology, there's like a whole Ayurvedic like surgery text. So I know that that is kind of where it has pulled from Ayurveda, which is like how the different branches have gone on to develop. I don't know about like the 6 weeks
Okay.
recommendation, but yeah, you made a good point that it's like it's not just the 6 weeks. Like that's the recommendation to like really honor this rest. Like, don't be taking out the trash like in those first 42 days. Like, prioritize not doing that stuff. And postpartum, especially if you're breastfeeding, is going to be a longer journey than just 6 weeks. So yeah, it's definitely not just like the 42 days and then it's like, okay, I'm back.
I wish it would be nice, but like let's be real about this. Let's not set expectations so we're all just doomed to failure.
Yeah.
All right, so what else would you recommend? Like, if you were to say, obviously it's individual, everybody has different needs, but what are some of the common things that you find are needed by a woman freshly postpartum?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I said this before we started recording or not, but the pillars of postpartum, we have rest. So the 42 days of rest. So you want to plan, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more later of something tangible that if you're listening to this and you're pregnant, like you can do ways to prepare. But you want to prioritize rest, staying in around the bed for the majority of those first 6 weeks, which to some people, I know that sounds like a lot, especially if you have older children, and it's not going to be like perfect. But you really want to prepare to be able to rest as much as possible. Like You don't want to be having to run the household in doing all the cooking and cleaning, etc., and running around doing stuff, like going out to the grocery store, etc. You really want to prioritize rest. So I feel like that is the most important one, is not overdoing it, because your pelvic floor is healing and your tissues are healing, and you want to promote the production of oxytocin in your brain, which I actually just made a really great post about this on my Instagram. But your oxytocin is responsible for the milk letdown reflex, and stress, it inhibits the production of oxytocin. So if you're stressed, your milk is not going to be flowing. And that's going to create more stress, because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, my baby's not getting enough. And that's already something that moms stress about a lot. So you want to really set yourself up for having that oxytocin flowing. Warmth is the next pillar. Warmth also supports the production of oxytocin. So you want to keep warm socks, wear a hat. The centers of the body that like cold, in Ayurveda, that like the cold enters from is like the head, the sacrum, and the feet. So you want to keep these things warm. So wear a hat. Belly binding is very supportive, because not only does it support your pelvic floor and like can be preventative for diastasis recti, if I'm pronouncing it. It also keeps you warm there. And yeah, keep the feet warm. So if you have a winter baby, you definitely want to be prioritizing those things, especially if you go and get outside, get some sunlight. You want to keep your body warm. Warm baths, warm showers. The Abhyanga is what I mentioned before, is the warm sesame oil massage. So this you can do yourself, or you can hire someone like me to come give you one. And it's basically a massage that it's focused on lymphatic drainage. So it's not the same type of like really deep tissue massage. Like it's not really like working out the knots. It's just very light touch, because the lymph is just right under the skin, so you don't actually have to press very hard to get that moving. So it's really important. It moves the energy down, which is great for balancing vata and really grounding. Very soothing for the nervous system, and also for the breast, because the breast can get engorged. You can get clogged duct, mastitis, which is like more extreme. But yeah, having breast massage is very important for lymph drainage. The next pillar is nourishment. So it also brings in the warmth, because you want to have those warm foods. Something that you can do to prepare is having a meal train. A lot of people do that. You can have a postpartum food prep party, and like have your girls over and just like make a bunch of food to batch prep for the freezer. And the next principle is touch. We kind of talked about already. Having warm touch, asking your partner for a back rub or to rub your feet. If you have family visiting you. And another thing, so the last one is community. So to prepare for postpartum, you also have to be comfortable asking for help.
That's a big one.
Yeah, so that is like really big, because a lot of people, myself included, we don't want to be a burden. We don't want to inconvenience anyone, but we need to use our voice, and we need to advocate for ourselves, because most of the time the people that love us, they want to show up. So getting comfortable asking for things is really going to set you up.
I
For
want to
success.
jump in on that subject where I had a recent experience where a very close friend of mine was going through a thing, something pretty big in her life. And people would ask, what can I do to help? How can I help you? What can I do for you? Can I get you anything? Can I do anything for you? And I know, and I've observed this in others, it's very hard sometimes to even come up with an idea of what somebody else can do to help you. You know what I mean? Like, it's when you're already overwhelmed, the amount of mental effort it takes to make a decision like, here's what you can do to help me, can just add to the already overwhelming amount of decisions you have to make or whatever. However, one thing that I think is very useful to know is if you're not going to ask for help for yourself, other people not only want to help you, they feel the need to help you. And this goes back a millennia. Do you know what I mean? Like we have always been rooted in our communities, and I think that it's easy to forget that with social media and technology, and that we can get anywhere by an airplane. But it used to be that we had these little tight-knit communities, these little villages, and we all relied on each other to support each other, and it was just an expected thing. Of course, nobody, there's a whole thing, my whole last episode was about building a village of women helping women, but like, it takes a village is a phrase because it's rooted in truth. Like, we are not designed to exist in our own little bubble by ourselves, completely able to just do everything we need to ourselves. That's not how the world works, even though that's how it feels like it's set up nowadays. I think it's also very important to know that we have within us a very strong, I would say vital need to help other people. And when we stop helping other people, we actually cease to survive as well as we should. And so make a list. My advice would be make a list of things when you think of them, so that when somebody asks you, you're not put on the spot, make a list of things that other people could help you with, even if you don't need that help. But it would be nice. Like, somebody can come and vacuum my house for me. Somebody can take my older kids out to the park for an hour so I can get some quiet time. Somebody can bring me some food, do my grocery shopping for me, you know, help my husband with something in the house. Like, just write these things down for yourself, because, and even if you're like, I could do it myself, of course you can. You are an all-powerful spiritual being, and you're capable of anything and everything, okay? You just birthed a baby. You just grew an entire baby in you. Of course, you are completely powerful and very capable. But allow people to help you, because it actually helps them too, and it makes them feel more part of your community, and it builds that village in this world that is so driven by technology and impossible expectations and so forth. That little bit of traditional community is actually, I think, very important spiritually for all of us.
So important. I'm gonna have to listen to the other episode about making a village, because it's so important. And to have a village, you have to be willing to be a villager.
Yes.
And you have to be willing to show up. One thing I like to do when a mom in my community has just given birth, like, I don't really ask, like, I just am like, when would be good for me to drop this off? So, and like when my friend is sick, like, oh, do you need anything? Like, that's nice and that's really thoughtful, but also just being like, okay, what do I have the space to do? And then being like, okay, I'm gonna bring this, when would be a good time? And just kind of like not really making them do the extra work. One thing that I would suggest would be make a sign-up sheet. Like, at your baby shower, like, have a sign-up sheet for your friends, and being like, week 1, the days and like have people sign up for like what am I available for? Can I drop off some food? Can I be a gopher to do an errand? Can I sign up for caring for the older kids? Am I available to hold the baby while you take a shower? Like, have people really sign up. And then it's like, you don't have to think about it once the baby's there and you have all these other things and you're in a vulnerable state. Um, it's already planned. So that would be like a really tangible thing that you could do to prepare is have the sign up sheet.
It's a great idea. I love that. While we're talking about baby showers, doula funds, birth
Yeah.
doula and postpartum doula funds. I was telling, there's another episode I talked about this, but it's really hard to hire a doula for somebody else because you need to make sure that, you know, personality wise and needs wise, the person is the right person for every individual mama. You know, I'm not the birth doula for every mama out there. I know I'm not. There are some people that should not hire me because I'm just not right for them. But there are other people for whom I am completely meant to be there for. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you feel the same way. I'm sure there's some people who you're not going to provide them the services that they need, and you probably have a skill set that they don't desire. But there are mamas out there that need you and that really should have you specifically be their postpartum doula. And so, like I said, like you can't really hire a doula on behalf of somebody else, but you can certainly look up the going rate in your area and create a doula fund, just a little envelope of cash or a little, you know, Venmo or whatever, and make that part of your baby shower, your baby registry.
Yes.
This is what I'm looking for. I want a postpartum doula to make my, you know, make my postpartum experience not so stressful, not so anxious, a little bit more healing, and, you know, help me with recovery and all that. And I think that's an amazing gift. Not to say that, you know, diapers aren't also necessary and baby blankets and clothes, but don't forget to care for yourself too, because you need to. Your baby is relying on you to take care of yourself.
Yes, having a doula fund in your baby shower registry, that is like that can be really important because there's also so many gadgets that people put on the registry, and it's like if you just take off like most of those gadgets and you just replace it with like postpartum care, like you're going to be great because your body is the most important thing, and if your body is nourished and supportive, your baby's going to be great. Like, yeah. So
I
have,
certainly understand the desire, you know, you want the fancy lights, and who doesn't love cute baby clothes? I mean, goodness, you know. But I agree, you know.
like the wipe warmer.
Yeah, the wipe warmer that, like, pardon my French, but it shit the bed very early on in our career, and then it was just used as a wipe holder, not a wipe warmer. And you know what? You know how much my baby cared? Literally none. He was like, okay, I don't have poop on my butt. Great, thanks. You know. Also, if you don't have a wipe warmer, stick the wipe in between your boobs. It'll warm up in like 3 seconds. Just a little life hack there for you guys. You're welcome.
I love that. The other thing that is really, oh, I actually have one more idea for preparing. Because you mentioned like having like all these visitors coming, and that can be overwhelming and not actually feel nourishing at the end of the day if it's like too much. Having a sign on the door that says, like, in a nice way, like, you know, let's keep the visits to 15 minutes. And if you're coming in, like, if you could just do something helpful around the house, like empty the dishwasher, like if you're coming to visit, there's definitely a more loving way to put that. But basically, that's what you put is like, thanks for coming. Like, we love your support. Let's just keep it quick. And like, if you're coming in, do something.
Yeah, if you Google it, there's like all sorts of fancy, cute ways people say that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm sure. I mean, there's like cute little signs, you know, little poems people put up. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not something you even need to apologize for. Like, you don't even need to say it, you know, fancy, pretty, soft, or whatever. You just say, hey, I just birthed a whole baby. If you don't mind, I'm really tired and I'd like to not have to kick you out. So just respectfully see yourself out when you know, have hit the like 15, 20 minutes. I mean, whatever, make it whatever it's comfortable for you. You know, some people want to talk to somebody for an hour or whatever. I have a whole blog post, maybe I'll put it in the description, about how to support a new mama. And honestly, I surveyed a whole bunch of people, and everybody that I was like, you know, what's the most wonderful thing that anybody's ever done for you postpartum? What was the most helpful? What was the most surprising? And I was expecting all these like super clever, you know, unexpected things that people did. And pretty much one for one, almost without exception, I think maybe one person said something different, but everybody that I asked was like, somebody brought me lactation cookies, somebody brought me food, somebody ordered a DoorDash for me, and it was all feed the mama. All of it was just feed the mama. And I was like, okay, good, feed the mama. So my blog that I was like expecting to be just a whole list of like beautiful creative ideas was like, just give her food, just feed her. That's what she wants. It was great, but there are certain things that I put in there, like, don't make her kick you out. Don't be that person. Use your eyes, observe. If she's like uncomfortable, or if she looks exhausted, or the clock has told you you've been there for more than an hour, just see yourself out, you know. And then also, you know, everybody's excited about the baby. Who isn't? I love babies. Babies are literally the best thing ever. Literally. Of course, people want to see the baby and they want to hold the baby and they want pictures of the baby naturally, and I wouldn't expect them not to, you know what I mean? But also, don't, in your excitement as the guest visiting a new mama, forget that the mom is going through a whole new thing. Like, she is physically healing, she is spiritually and emotionally going through a massive change. Even if it's her third, fourth, fifth, eighth, 12th baby, like, every time it's a change, and it requires, you know, she's getting to know this new baby. That's a whole like brand new relationship that she's establishing. If she's breastfeeding, that's its own, you know, whole production. There's a lot going on, and so just give that the respect, give that the honor that it deserves, and let her know that, you know, like, it also doesn't hurt as a new mom to hear, hey, you just did this, like, you're amazing. I know you're tired, but you look incredible, you know, whatever. It's a good thing to hear, trust me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the community piece is so important. Like when it's based in witnessing and nourishing and not just like extracting.
It's a good way of putting it. And it's sad that you have to say that, but the thing is, I don't know, I blame it on technology. Maybe that's not right, but I think that social media has a lot to do with it, where it used to be slower, you know? Life used to be more intuitive. It was more, the pace was slower. We were in such a rush to get to the next whatever, you know? You didn't immediately have to post a picture. People didn't get offended if you didn't announce the baby right away. Like, there's all these like weird pressures that are on us because of Hollywood or social media or whatever. I don't know what it maybe a combination of all of those things. But it's okay to slow down and take time to recover, and don't, I mean, it's easy to say don't feel pressured. Of course, it's one thing to say the words, and it's another thing to actually internalize and really live by that. It doesn't come naturally to me. I know that for sure. You know, like, I always am like, hey, how fast do I need to get back to this? And I was planning on going back to work a month after I had my first kid. I don't know what I was on to think that that was a thing that was going to happen. And my boss at the time was so wonderful. Like, I got on a Zoom meeting with him because I was working from home, and I was like, hey, John. He's like, you're not coming back to work for me, are you? And I was like, I want to. He's like, no, you don't. And you shouldn't. Go be with your baby. And it was like the most, I don't know if I quit or was fired, but it was like the most loving and supportive end of a work relationship I've ever seen, where I was like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. He's like, of course it doesn't make sense. Look at you. Go be a mom. And it was amazing. And I want everybody to have that, not that exact experience, but that feeling that your community's got you and you're not failing anybody if your plans change. And if it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like, you're not a failure. You can pivot. You can listen to what your body needs. Listen to what your intuition is telling you. You know what your baby needs. If you're like, hey, this doesn't feel right, you don't have to push through because that's what the expectations are societally. You know what I mean? Like, be in tune with yourself and really take the time and the care to like do the things that you know you instinctively need to do.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so important for a baby to have mom be close and to be in tune with her intuition, to be listening to it, because all moms, they have it, and it's very strong. And when you're not trying to adhere to those societal norms of like bouncing back and like production and going at the career, and actually realizing that being a mom and mothering and like being their safe space in those really early months and years is like you are contributing to society, because you're legit creating a nervous system that is going to be out in the world, and you are doing really important work right where you are.
I wish that we could, I mean, we can spend the next 20 minutes of this podcast just saying those words in different ways until it sinks in, because I feel like it's so important, And it's funny because you get into these online fist fights. I try not to fight with strangers on the internet, but I witness them, standing aside from the fray, and I watch these people going at each other. Well, you're saying that I'm wrong for pursuing my career, and don't bash me for sending my kids to daycare, and I didn't breastfeed as long as you did, and you think I'm lesser than. And I'm like, there are as many ways to parent as there are children. There is no one size fits all approach to any of the things having to do with parenting, okay? Anybody who tells you otherwise is full of it, and they have something they're trying to sell you, and I'm sorry, it's just the truth, When it comes to pregnancy as a doula, like, everybody's going to have a different experience, and people are like, there's never a need for medical intervention. That's not true. I'm sorry. That's not true. There is a time and a place where Western medicine is absolutely vital, and you didn't fail because you relied on it, okay? And then people are like, well, there's no medal for going, intervention free. There are some pretty cool rewards for going intervention free. I'm sorry. For some people, there is a really big reward at the end of it. Maybe not for everybody, but for some people there really is, I can't breastfeed and therefore I'm a failure. No, you're not. There are other options, and we can make it work for your specific situation. Or, you breastfed him until he was 4 years old. If they can ask for it, they're too old for it. Load of crap. Absolutely not true. If you, as the mother, instinctively feel that you should breastfeed your baby until they're 4 or until they're 6, who am I to tell you otherwise? Nobody's getting hurt. You're not going to harm your baby by giving them breast milk. Do what you know is correct, and your situation is going to look different from mine, and I can share my experience and I can share my knowledge. But at the end of the day, like you were saying, like, a mom's instincts are a force to be reckoned with. And I think that the society does a really good job of suppressing them and telling you have to do this, you got to do that, you can't do this. I won't get into the whole, the nitty gritty of it, but, the opinions that there are on vaccines and, medicine and daycare and formula feeding and how to feed your baby. You're going to hear
with your baby, how to co-sleeping, and
Another one, don't get me started. If anybody found out where my first child slept for the first year of his life, they'd have a conniption fit, some of these people
And it's
online.
like that's the instinct. Like so many moms are like, I just want to sleep with my baby, and it's like, well, then do it.
And guess
You
what?
can do
Guess
it.
what? We slept great. People are like, how are you sleeping? And I'm like, incredible. Incredible. I've never felt more rested in my life than I did with the first, well, maybe not never, but almost never, than with the first year of his life. And I was
So
sleeping,
natural.
reclining. He was right here. His head was on my heart. He would fall asleep to the sound of my heartbeat. Like, I was comfortable. I knew exactly where he was. I didn't have to wake up to feel if he was breathing frantically in the middle of the night. You know, I know how, mama out there listening, you know yourself. You know your baby. There are some moms out there that should not co-sleep. I can think of a few, and there are specific reasons why not. If you're that mom, you know that that's not for you. And you know what? That's also great. If your intuition says this is not a safe idea for us, don't do it. Don't force yourself in the other direction either. You know what I mean? Like, but man, if I could like magically get into the head of every mother out there and say, okay, this is your intuition. You are now going to be completely attuned to it, and you're going to listen to it, and you're going to trust it. If I could just change that one thing, this whole world would change completely. Like the way that we raise kids, the way we do almost everything would change in a moment, because there's just so much external pressure that tries to drown out that maternal instinct. And it's something that I think as a society we really need to focus on shifting.
I'm with you. Yeah, shifting the paradigm. That's like part of my why of like why I'm doing this work is to shift the narrative of like undersupported, like malnourished, depleted mothers, and to make that not be like the norm or so common. Because it doesn't have to be.
What a difference it would make, huh? If everybody
I
got
know.
that support. Like, I just took a moment to like imagine, okay, if everybody just listened to their instincts, we did what felt right, and we were educated. It's not that you just make decisions willy-nilly. Like, you actually get yourself the knowledge and the information that you need to make the correct decisions, and you explore the options available to you, and you have the community and the village of support around you, the people who have done it themselves, the people who have educated themselves, the professionals, or just the crazy people who think outside the box. Like, if we just really became that village that supports each other, and we didn't have all these expectations of, I mean, let's call it what it is, arbitrary rules of how you're supposed to parent, you know, what a world it would be. It would be crazy.
I know.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we are coming up on an hour. Before we wrap up and you tell people where to find you, do you have any final thoughts, any final words of wisdom or advice for the mamas out there listening?
I feel like we've said a lot of good stuff. Like invest in your postpartum window. Invest in this fourth trimester. Invest in your transition into motherhood, whether it's your first time or your fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Invest in this period because the Ayurvedic saying is 42 days for 42 years of health. So, how you be in those first 42 days will affect your health and longevity for 42 years. So if you think of it like that, what different decisions will you make for your postpartum? If you're pregnant, if you're going to have more kids in the future and you didn't plan for your past postpartum windows, yeah, think of it like that. Like how is it going to improve my health and the health of my family for the long term?
Love that.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like this whole episode is like, has such like a slow down, chill out vibe. Like, just take it easy for a second. Give yourself some grace. You know, It's a lot. It's wild. Parenting is crazy. It is the ride of my life. And I love every moment of it. And it's very easy to get caught up in the speed of things and what the next thing is. But like sometimes you just need to pause, take a look at what you're doing, make the changes that you need to, listen to your intuition, follow your instincts, get some help, go back to your roots, go back to family and your community and get the help that you need. And there's a cat that it's always at the end of the episode. These animals like to come in. You can bring the cat on screen. That's okay.
I have a candle right here. I don't want to.
Oh my goodness. Hi. What's your name?
This is Muffin.
Muffin. Oh. Hi, Muffin. What a cutie pie. Oh my goodness. Well, Muffin is here just in time for you to shamelessly plug your own services. Where can people find you? How can they hire you? What area do you serve? Tell the good people where they
I am serving New Haven County, Connecticut. So I'm in West Haven. So I'm willing to travel like up to 30 minutes radius around here. You guys can find me at the Blessed Vessel Doula on Instagram. I'm still in the process of building my website, so that's where you can find me for now. I am offering 2 signature packages right now. I am offering the Nurtured Nest, which is 12 sessions, 2 times a week for 6 weeks. It's like 4 to 5 hour sessions. And that includes like all of the stuff that we talked about today, Abhyanga, belly binding, cooking, household help, education, breastfeeding guidance, all of that good stuff. Yoni steaming, we didn't really go into depth about that, but that's another really supportive thing. I'm also offering a 1-day immersion, so this would be great in that first week. So it would be an opening meditation, little ceremony, birth story witnessing, Abhyanga. I'll run you a bath, make you an herbal tea, make you some lunch, wrap your belly, and then we'll do a little closing out meditation. So you can find more info about these packages and also possibly create your own customized package because everyone needs different stuff. So if one of these things sounds really good to you, let's chat. You can find me on Instagram, the Blessed Vessel Doula.
It sounds so amazing. I'm like imagining what that would have been like postpartum, just to have a day of just being pampered and relaxed. It sounds so incredible.
I love that.
Right,
You want every mom to experience that, so.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so happy we had this talk. It was very interesting. I have a lot to learn about this. It's a very fascinating subject. But I am very grateful that you were able to come on and, teach us a little bit about it. And I hope lots of moms are going to take advantage of your services. I feel like you are going to bring a lot of good to this world.
Thank you so much, Paulina. This was awesome.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will see you next week in the next episode.